Hello everybody, welcome back to Noita Everyday. I am going to talk more about Minecraft lore because it's very interesting to me, I guess, and it also helps me think through the process of understanding it. Because, oh boy, is it confusing. It's a very interesting topic to me, and I like lore in general. So, I was discussing the magic system in the game, and I believe it was enchantments was the last thing I was talking about. So, come to the realization that it's probably not lapis lazuli that is the source of the magic power in that specific magic, I guess, in enchanting. It's not probably not just the lapis lazuli, whatever the frick you want to call it, the funny blue stuff you use to make the magic happen or to help with it, because of experience points, which drop when you attack, or rather defeat most enemies. And that also happens to include destroying spawners, which spawn in said enemies. Okay, I really want a fungal shift. Whoa. Whoa there, Gameroony. Okay, I want a fungal shift fire because it would be hilarious. So we are going to try to do that. Let's go back to this pool of water, wash it off. Anyway, back to the Minecraft theory. Most living things, when slain, will drop experience points. Most dead things that have souls, when slain, will drop experience points. I don't think there are any dead things in the game that don't have souls, because they get reanimated. Obviously undead, not actually dead, because actually dead things aren't able to move. So, you know, probably relates to that somehow. Why is there so much sludge here? Here, can I destroy the floor? Yes. Drain the disgusting toxicity this place holds. Okay. That almost worked. There's still a bit more over there. And a little bit over here. Please drain. Anyway. There is one issue with this idea, though, and that would be mining and smelting stuff drops experience points. Which wouldn't make sense if it was somehow soul energy, because I don't know if minerals and rocks have souls like they do in Noita. And if you're wondering what that means, look into the lore a little bit more. It's confusing. I don't feel like explaining it. I feel like explaining Minecraft lore, because it's completely unrelated. I don't know exactly why some things give experience and some things don't. Because obviously killing things gives experience. That makes sense. It could be that the leveling system is a separate magic, and it's just you getting good lets you pour that power into something. Or perhaps it is experience your soul itself gains that you are able to utilize. I don't know. Maybe the player is just a magic man. It's not super easy to tell. I'm fine getting a little bit poisoned right here, right now. To fungal shift fire into something, or something into fire. So we can turn something into fire. Oh, well. Might cause a lot of funnies, especially if it's smoke. Okay, fire got turned into ominous... Oh no, just poison. Just straight up poison. That's terrible, because that means every single fire source in the game is now poison. So, if I break one of these, it is going to drop poison. Oh. What? I guess it doesn't count. I don't know. Some things probably will create poison instead of fire, like this. Does not apparently create fire. Interesting. I'm learning. Get crushed, nerd. Oiled. I need that stuff from my magic potions. It's very clearly creating fire, so perhaps it's just the pure fire material itself that got shifted, and not necessarily like the liquid fire, not necessarily this kind that destroys solid stuff on its own. Because clearly there is regular fire here, and you could even see it in the X that displays up here. Anyways, back to the Minecraft lore. I was talking about gold being related to health. One more piece of evidence for that would be the Totem of Undying, which is made out of gold and emeralds. It probably has some amount of soul in it, since it saves your life, literally. So I'm guessing, or making an inference, that gold is related to life itself in the Minecraft universe. Not soul in particular, but specifically life. Which might be why piglins like collecting it. It might also not be why piglins like collecting it, just because it's a plentiful resource in the nether, which I guess wouldn't make too much sense, because the place is all about death and being literally hell. Maybe that does help to further disprove that point, especially because golden carrots don't really count toward that point. It's a bit of a stretch to make that kind of statement. So there's both a little bit of proof and a little bit of disproof for it. Nothing is fully concrete, in my opinion, for that. So, again, please give me your ideas in the comments, because I will absolutely pay attention to them. I feel like my theories probably have obvious ways to be disproved, and I would like to make sure that people comment on that, because, you know, I kind of want to know if I missed something pretty major, because that tends to happen. We are going to use laser beam because it's cool. Oh, goody, glass cannon. That's always a fun one. We are going to die so fast. So, okay, back to where I was before. We are going to... Ooh, that actually has a really high mana charge speed. Okay. Hold up. Wait a moment. So, back to discussing funny Minecraft logic that my brain comes up with. Enchantments, I guess. You use experience as the main source for enchanting and combining enchantments, and you can remove them and get a little bit of experience back. I'm not sure if that still relates to soul magic. Maybe it's some remnant that you're able to scrape off before the enchantment itself is removed. But, you know, it's still there. Alright, on the topic of experience, spawners. They give experience when mined and are very, very, very weird, because they spawn stuff in. If we continue with the idea that experience is soul energy in some way, shape, or form, that would mean that, well, spawners are made with soul energy. And this wouldn't be too much of a stretch, considering that they're literally able to somehow magically create new beings, just put them in existence. They can't be the only source of those beings, though, because obviously some things don't spawn for spawners, and most of them are locked underground. The only exception of this I can think of is blazes, which seem to spawn only in places where blaze spawners are. Disproof for this would be, obviously, blazes still spawn after all the spawners are broken because of the nether bricks, so it might be something to do with the nether bricks, or it could just be gameplay purposes, because that tends to be one of Mojang's focuses when it comes to stuff like that. Stuff like, you know, the things and the stuff. Yeah, you know the things and stuff. We've already basically got electricity as a perk inside of our inventory, so we're going to reroll. Fire immunity would be quite nice, because for some reason it's not gone. We can deal with toxicity since it can't actually kill us. Blah, blah, blah. Back toward Minecraft. Spawners are probably users of regular soul magic. But that's not the main thing I want to talk about them with. Spawners don't seem to have any physical substance that could be inhabited by a soul. At least in soul sand valleys, we can see that ghasts are clearly a large concentration of souls spawning on the soul sand, and skeletons are made from the remaining bones and souls of individuals who died there. That statement would also prove that there had to have been one or more unique types of ancient sentient groups, because regular skeletons and wither skeletons are different. So, you know, we'll come back to that later. Probably, maybe, if I live long enough in this. What was I saying? Right, spawners. Spawners don't seem to have anything that could be possessed. So, are the beings they create entirely made out of soul? Or do they use soul magic to pull a being into existence? Is the tiny little spinning monster in the center a representation of, like, a template that it can follow? Or is it just, like, a visual representation for the player to see? If we assume that it's a template for the magic itself to follow, then it would make sense that they don't need any kind of, like, husk of a zombie or a corpse or something for the soul to be pushed into. It could just create that with soul magic, because soul magic can physically create things. We see this with vexes and ghasts, which are both beings that occur. Obviously, I guess allies technically count, but it seems that vexes are either modified allies or a summoned or a differently summoned variation that are modified by magic or conditioning to make them fight. Evoker Fangs are made out of soul magic. That one's pretty obvious. There's not really any other source of a similar thing in the game. So it would stand to reason that soul magic itself, or soul whatever, is able to produce physical substance. Or at the bare minimum modify it heavily, so it could just be like taking air from the existence, just taking air out of, well, the air, and using that to make it. I'm guessing that it just uses magic energy to materialize it, considering that the ancient civilizations were very advanced when it came to magic, anyway. Also, notably, most spawners we find are just either completely submerged in something, either underground or, I think, underwater, with... not with guardians. Just on rare occasion, sometimes it's just underwater. Because world gen, hoo-hoo. I'm gonna drink this. Just to see what happens. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna die. Hold on. Gimme uno momento. That is a epic-looking thing over there. I just have to live long enough to get it. Okay, back on the topic of Minecraft. Spawners have to probably use some kind of husk corpse. In the Nether, they don't obviously need them because the only spawner that appears there are blazes and magma cubes. The magma cubes ones appearing only inside of piglin structures, specifically a very specific type of treasure bastion remnant. So they are created out of lava that appears at the very bottom of it. I believe would be the lore implication, since they only spawn right by lava at the very bottom of the structure. As for the blazes, the entire Nether is filled with fire and flames, so it's not very much of a stretch to infer that, well, it just takes that, makes it into blazes. Blazes do breathe. That is not really important, but it's interesting, and might somehow be related later. Who knows? Could show that their intelligence is greater than we normally would think about. I was going to say something, but then I forgot. Right, spawners. It seems like they need some kind of physical substance to function, or otherwise somehow create it magically. Because without a corpse or a physical thing for a soul to inhabit, it can't really do much. So in the case of ghasts, it creates a body, a unique one. If spawners did that, they would not have zombies and skeletons, since those spawn elsewhere as well, unless they're somehow modified in order to do that, which I'm not sure is possible, since those mobs also still drop like rotten flesh in their normal mob drops. Also, creepers literally cannot appear from spawners, which is probably related. I have absolutely no idea how I could comprehend how, but it makes sense that they would be related. Quick tip, glowing lance can in fact break brickwork, it's just really annoying. Anyway, back to the Minecraft theories. I don't know why this is just such a topic that I like. I'm very adamant about talking on it, because I like it. Let's see. Right, spawners. So, it's likely that they reutilize corpses that are made by killing things by the spawner, either re-inhabiting them or just taking the flesh and remaking. Oh, you're kidding me. That's bullcrap. I'm gonna frickin' die because I got stuck and got hit twice. Okay. Wouldn't end the run there for that. I'd reset. Oh, do a new run. It's always a little bit more fun. Anyhow, back to that. It seems more likely that they would reutilize corpses just because, you know, it's all there for the taking. Plum for the picking and whatnot. Okay, thought that guy was gonna obliterate me. Is that a worm? No, those two are just fighting for no reason. Okie dokie. If I get hit once, I die. Cannot be having that. So yeah, they would probably reutilize corpses in some way, shape, or form to do that kind of stuff, which would mean that they're re-inhabiting some kind of, like, husk of the original region. Which, yeah, I guess makes sense to me. I'm not sure if it is completely comprehensible, because obviously there's a couple issues with the overall theory. That being, you never actually see any of those corpses being repossessed throughout any of the game. There's no evidence to suggest that that's even possible. Other than zombie villagers, if that's even the case with them. But we don't know. If we follow this line of thinking, it could be that the zombification process is not, in fact, an actual infection, but more of a you are dead and your soul has left your body kind of thing. Also, it seems like the Illagers are more of a mastery over soul magic than many other things, but the villagers themselves also have soul magic, which is seen in clerics who get bottles of enchanting at their final level. And, well, that's soul magic, if we follow the thought that souls are experience, or experience is soul power. Which very well could be the case, if my theorizing is correct here, which, again, also not technically guaranteed to be the case. I might just straight up be wrong on all of this. I like to think that I'm not, but we would be able to find out very easily. Okay, I'm just going to do this to try and summon Steven himself while I talk about this, because I do need to kill him for regaining access to this biome, the sector for wand editing purposes. So, in order for most of this to work, the idea that soul magic is just a straight-up thing has to be true. Which, it is true, we can see that much. We know that soul magic is real because of stuff like ghasts, and the fact that soul sand and netherwort are the only sources of magic, or the main sources of magic in the game, that being potions. Technically not enchanting, which is only really sourced by killing things. Why Endermen give the most experience points out of any regular mob in the game, I'm not entirely sure. It could be that they're the most powerful, so killing them, they have the most soul energy within them, or just defeating them gives you the most experience in a more literal sense, so your soul becomes more powerful, and then you can utilize that later. If that's how the player's capabilities with soul magic works, then is it how it works with all things, or just specifically the player character? I don't feel like that makes the most sense. It would probably be more reasonable that it's just soul magic that you have stored and can use for later. But I'm not the smartest man alive, as is confirmed by this combat session I'm having with Steven himself. Uh-oh. Yeah, that ain't great. I'm leaving this place, and I'm probably gonna die while doing it. Back to me thinkings. We're gonna drink all this, just so we can kill things faster. Cover yourself in the surround. So, back to my ramblings, I guess. Soul magic has heavy, heavy, heavy importance in the world. It is basically required. Oh, okay. It's basically required for a lot of Minecraft to work at all, because without it, you can't have stuff like potions. It's actually magic. Witches use soul magic. The potions require netherwort. Netherwort can only grow on soul sand because soul sand is the only source of soul magic, so concentrated and condensed that netherwort is able to just straight up feed off of it. Can't grow on soul soil because the soul soil isn't what's the word? Scattered enough? Like loose enough to be planted in, I guess. It can't take root. It's too hard. The ground's not... It's too harsh for the plant. The name is probably not a coincidence, and the fact that it's sort of a wort that grows utilizing the souls of the dead in order to fuel itself. Soul Sand Valleys also represent quite a lot of death. Like, an exorbitant amount of it. Because a lot of things had to die for that to happen. which obviously makes sense since a lot of things die throughout Minecraft's overall world history. Or I guess multi-dimensional history, because it's not just the world. It also got the Nether and the End. Alright, well, I'll think about that a little bit more. I'll probably have a fully fledged statement for tomorrow if I talk about this again then. But for now, we're on the topic of the End partially, so I'll speak a little bit on what makes the most sense to my mind about that existence, that entire realm. For the End to have been accessed by the Ancients, something had to already be there. It is not possible that the Ancients were the first ones there, and that is unless one specific thing that I'll say in a moment. But that is because the only way to go there is by utilizing so many things that are exclusive to the End. Endstone, that's about it. That's the main exclusive thing. The End portal frames require Endstone. It requires things from all 3 dimensions, really. Well, at least 2 of them. Those being the End for the Endstone and the Nether for the blaze rods, which are required to make blaze powder, which is needed in order to make the Eyes of Ender. Notably, Eyes of Ender are only possible to get with Endermen. There is not a single other way in all of Minecraft that you can obtain an Ender Pearl other than looting chests and from Endermen, killing them. Which stands to reason that the Endermen are not the ancient civilization, but rather a thing that existed before them. The Endermen have either always existed, or were something that became of the ancient civilization when they utilized experimentation, which honestly could be the case since Endermen have so much experience on them. And if we follow the experience's soul theory, that could explain why they all have so much experience that they drop. Okay, that actually makes sense, right? Oh, okay. I've just brought up a point that makes me think about the theory again. Wow, great. If Endermen utilized a bunch of soul magic and were originally one of the groups of ancient races that existed on the surface, then utilized so much soul magic that they found out how to teleport themselves between dimensions at will, then that would mean they would have been able to access the End itself, and maybe that's what eventually warped them into what they are, rather than them just looking like that originally and being Endermen that were harvested for their eyes, or pearls, or whatever the frick the Ender pearls are. So it could be that they utilized chorus fruits afterward, or made it in the overworld before, and then discovered that it could send them through dimensions in a high enough concentration. Considering that chorus fruit is required for End cities, obviously it can't be the... It has to be the main building block they utilized, because End cities had to have mostly purple and Endstone blocks in them, because those are the only accessible blocks in the End at the time of construction, or perhaps just because it was more aesthetic. On that note, I think the Endermen probably didn't develop from the Ancients. Another reason for that is because they so heavily resemble the Ender Dragon itself, having completely blacked out skin with glowing purple eyes. Whether that's because the dragon itself modified them, or because they were modified within proximity of the dragon, and there used to be multiple dragons, which obviously can be proven by the fact that the dragon has an egg in the first place, and also by the fact that there are dragon heads on every single End ship in the entire world. So there had to have been more than one dragon at some point. And the one we're fighting has to be the last one, since no others ever exist, or appear to exist throughout the rest of the game. This one can be revived, though, which is not something normally possible without a high concentration of soul magic, which is seen with the use of gas tiers, gas being giant blobs of soul energy mixed up in order to make this weird, goofy, floaty thing. That combined with obsidian, which is an incredibly brittle material. Is it obsidian? No, it's just glass. Just gas tiers and glass to make... No, it's obsidian, right? Hold on. I don't actually remember the crafting recipe for those things, for end crystals. Whatever the case, they utilize soul magic and healing in order to regenerate the Ender Dragon itself, which means that whoever built the original crystals knew how to utilize soul magic very, very well. Probably much better than the player and many of the currently existing groups that we know about. If it was the same group that either is the Enderman right now, that we think could be the Enderman that became them, or the Endermen were just like that, the Enderman could have been the original like group that turned into other things. I don't know. I'm guessing probably not that one. I am a conspiracy theorist right now at this point. All the things I'm saying are deranged, but I'm just trying to think about all this stuff to see how it makes the most sense. Because very clearly, the Enderman probably originated in the end. There's a lot of stuff to support that idea. There's also a few things that sort of disprove it. But I can't really, like, remember those. Okay, so that's game-breakingly powerful right now. We're going to be using this probably throughout the rest of this run. I can't think of a way to disprove that Endermen were specifically not from the end. They didn't start there. They probably had to, because the only way to get the stuff to make the, well, really anything was to leave to other dimensions. Also, if the Endermen could just teleport through dimensions and were a group that were like the Ancients, why don't they just teleport back? Why didn't they just teleport back to gather resources before they died out? Or lost some of their intelligence or something? Why didn't they just escape? Is there an actual reason behind it? Or could they just not? Was the dragon blocking off the only possible exit portal because the Enderman can't actually teleport out of the end itself? I don't know if there's a way we can know. I, at least right now, don't know. Because the Enderman would have to... If they can leave the end, they have to be able to leave the end, because that's where they all start, and that's where they all come from. If they couldn't leave the end, they wouldn't be able to be in the overworld or anywhere else, because they would have all eventually died out of old age, and Endermen can't reproduce in any way that we know of. Heck, piglins can reproduce. Freaking zombies have baby variations, which doesn't really matter because they're zombies. They're corpses, basically. Oh, come on. That was teleportation. Zombies don't need to reproduce. They're zombies. They get reproduction occurs by death. Don't go near that. Oh my gosh. But most of the species in the world have some simplistic form of reproduction. Like all of the regular animals can be bred to make more of them. There are no baby pillagers we ever see, but since pillagers and illagers, or pillagers, not pillagers specifically, illagers in general, are similar, very, very similar, in fact, to villagers, it stands to reason that they would probably be able to reproduce, and we just don't see the young ones because they don't keep them in places where they are in danger. Now, obviously, they probably have something other than woodland mansions in which they stay in, because without that, I mean, there's pillager outposts, so that can't be the only... Do pillagers reproduce through normal means, or do they turn regular villagers into more villagers? Is that why we never see other pillagers? Oh, could be. Who knows? Not me yet. Need to figure some other stuff out before I can even start thinking about that. MatPat theorized that the illagers used soul magic in order to transform, or just magic, but it's soul magic if we follow Minecraft's base logic. It's soul magic. Why is there a giant worm here? Okay, anyway, back to Minecraft theory. Wow, my brain just stopped functioning when I got hit by that worm, huh? Weird. Okay. If pillagers or illagers are able to use soul magic to transform living beings into something completely different, then that has to mean that Endermen could literally just be just that. transformed beings that were turned into something else because of concentrated soul magic utilized by either themselves or someone else in order to change what they physically, mentally are. Both physically and mentally are, because both of those things are kind of important for how they exist. Yeah, that's a reasonable... Oh no, I made a bad decision. I made a very bad decision with this one. I need to go find that mist. There's a mist, toxic mist. I'm gonna have to buy that. Otherwise, I will be dead. Anyway, you guys have fun with that. Yeah, my buddy got eviscerated. Poor guy did not realize it was too late before it was too late. Okay. Yeah, they're gonna die. Anyway. Back to theorizing about Minecraft, which is completely unrelated to this, because it's very important to me, and I think it's neat. Right, Enderman, following the theory of they were some form of ancient, would make some amount of sense as to why they're so rare in the overworld, and why they don't like people looking at their eyes. I have a very, very basic theory that Endermen are probably... The eyes of Ender Pearls, not Eyes of Ender, Ender Pearls specifically, are the eyes of Endermen. This doesn't take too much of a leap in logic because, well, they're spheres or circles. They look like eyes quite a lot, and the issue is they're not the same color as Enderman eyes. Which means that they're either something completely different, or they lose... When they die, their eyes change color, which might make sense, and it might completely be pointless and stupid and not be related at all. I have no way of knowing or understanding that to be the case or not. I just don't know. I think that it is the case. Might be completely wrong on that account. Okay, I think it's better to get hit by that than the giant explosion that I create myself. What is wrong with me? Why did I choose that one? I just glass cannon twice in a row. Why would I do that? Anyway, just a quick closing thought, I guess. If Endermen are ancients that have been modified by their own soul magic, why isn't there more evidence of that said magic in the end? Shulkers, maybe? Like they're purple and white, the same color as endstone combined with chorus fruits. And obviously artificial beings have been created repeatedly, as is possible to see with stuff like guardians and... what do you call them? The frickin' golems, those guys. Those are completely artificial. And their life force is probably the pumpkins you put on their heads. That would make sense. Or alternatively, it could be the reason why stuff like iron gives you experience when smelted and mined down properly, because it quite literally just is infused with magic or life somehow. Or perhaps the player themselves infuses it with magic when they're placing the pumpkin on the head. I don't know. Anyway, unrelated. We were thinking about how Enderman could possibly just be a completely separate group. I don't know. What do you guys think? It could go either way. I'm guessing that it would be magically modified regular ancient people because, you know, that's just kind of a thing that they did. They did a lot of experimentation, which we can see with the Skulk stuff and the nether fortresses and the giant prismarine buildings. You know, that's kind of experimentation and worshipping of some kind of gods. Whatever the case, I'll look into it and think about it more, and I'll probably have more thoughts on it later, just like the spawner thing. Anyway, that's all of my insane ramblings for the day. Don't worry much about it. I'm only mostly crazy. Do the YouTube things like liking and subscribing because, yes, it'll let you see more of my brain damage. I don't know. I've not been using my goofy voices and stuff because I'm theorizing and using brain power. Which, yeah, I can do the goofy voices, but, you know, it's a skill issue. Whatever. Who cares? Yeah, that's basically everything I need to say right now. I will probably focus more on the game next time so that I can actually have a longer, better video. No, this isn't stalling. I'm just bad at talking sometimes. Most importantly, have a nice day. Bye!